everybody. Armand here, Chi Skills. Welcome to the podcast, but first of all, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, it's the first podcast of 2022. And we want to start off with a series about transformation. I mean, our slogan, Didi, right, is let's explore transformation together. So in this transformation, there are certain aspects that are very important, and we want to touch some of these in the next couple of podcasts. And today we're talking about space, creating space, opening. And, in Qigong, we're talking about three openings. On the most physical level, we're looking at opening the joints, right? That's the most physical aspect. Then we're moving into the astral aspect, the energy aspect of opening the energy body. And then we're cultivating space mentally. There's the opening of the mental body. And these three sort of sum up the transformation in our bodies, in what we are. Of course, there's even more space we can explore, but let's start at the bottom, right? So, Didi, you start every morning with stretches.
Yeah, when I get up, that's one of the first things that I do. I start with the power stretching, and actually, that really wakes me up.
Yeah. So, what's happening when you're stretching?
Well, you get this feeling like your body is moving again, and it feels lighter, and it feels like my day has started again. Yeah,
exactly. So what happens really, if we break it down a little bit, is when you stretch, and especially the stretches that we're doing, which are not per se about bending, but more about lengthening, right? That's a different thing, because some people think maybe about, flexibility, things like that, and which is important as well. Yeah. But we're looking to open joints when we stretch first, right? So we're opening the joints and we're stretching out all the elasticity of the body.
Yeah.
Because in order to get to the elasticity of the body, we have to open joints. So you see, these go hand in hand. And then when you tune into this energy body, which the elastic force is, you're also opening the feeling of energy. So when you're done with your stretches, what happens?
Oh, you feel like light.
Right, that's the good word, right? Yeah. Lightness. There's a lightness, but there's also a grounding.
Yeah, absolutely. You feel that you're here and you can start your day.
Exactly, right? So you have this opening on the top, space, and then we have a sinking of the energy. Yeah. So what happens when you stretch and you do an extreme stretch is that you're creating room for physical tension to go somewhere. So that's what we're talking about space. We're creating space for tension to go somewhere. But that's not the only thing we're doing. We're also boosting the elasticity, which is boosting your energy, right? So that's why it's such a great start of the day. Yeah. But the cool thing is that every day when you do it, it has an effect, but it also has a lasting effect.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So you've been stretching for years now.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about that.
I think what I started out with, like a long time ago, was the yoga every morning. And but then you got in touch with Mark Rasmus, actually, and he taught you the power stretches. Yeah. And I was hooked from the first moment.
Everyone is. Wow. Everyone we're teaching this, they're hooked.
It's just, it was just such a great feeling. And I started to do my yoga differently as well, because I started to apply the power stretching into the yoga.
That's cool. So tell me about that as well. What was different?
Well, there is you stretch in a different way. So you apply what you do with the lengthening. You do that in your yoga, and it's a different exercise.
Right. So if you have like the cobra, right, like that, so you're pushing off the ground and you're sort of bending your spine, right? And you're trying to look up. I mean, that's great. You probably were doing that fine, but now with, you're not only bending, but now you're also lengthening in the bend.
Exactly. Yeah. So you kind of look for the stretch in a different way. And I did a lot of ballet when I was younger, so I I knew the feeling. It was just looking in the yoga for those things as well. And then it started to happen. And where I really noticed it, because when we do the power stretching, we also do the vital breathing.
Yeah.
In the between the stretching.
The pore breathing, vital breathing. Yeah.
And when I first started out with doing these exercises, building the ball and feeling energy, it wasn't that strong. I felt that there was emptiness between it. Okay. And not a good...
Not a good emptiness.
Not a good emptiness. It was like there was not...
There was no juice.
No, exactly. And when I started to do all these exercises, and of course different things, different routines, also lifestyle related. But then I was like, wow, I can feel that energy so much clearer. And when I'm stretching, it's like, it's what? I'm really alive.
Right.
There is such a, it's so, even when I'm sitting here and I'm holding my hands like this, I can feel this stream of energy between my hands. And so yeah, I feel so much more powerful now.
Wow. So, and that has a lasting effect. It has a building effect as well, right? So that's huge. Right? If we're looking at that, this simple opening of the joints has already an effect on the opening of the energy body.
Very much.
Right? So. They go hand in hand. But then, if we're looking at what's happening mentally?
Well, I think for me, there was more space, so there's more opportunity, more room to embrace different things. So. What I see happening in my life is that the first steps were small, but then you make first, for example, you change your food, and you change it in a little way. You say, okay, I want different bread, and then you buy a different bread every time, and then you say, I don't want bread anymore. But I want to cook more. I have more energy to cook. And now sometimes when you see us, I always go back to food because that's one of my things. But then you see us, we're tired. We come home after a late day and we still prepare these great meals because we still have so much left to do that.
Yeah.
And I think that's, there's not that emptiness.
Yeah,
anymore.
So what I'm hearing now is it is a profound effect on behavior.
Oh, yeah, that's it.
Right? It's like consciousness and behavior. It's like... Yeah.
But then when we started to eat better, so that's actually gaining more energy, and then you have more left. So you can make different steps in your life. You're like, okay, now I have a little bit more energy left to... implement something else in my life, so I can go out and do stuff, start chi skills.
For example, right? So there's this foundation, right? That's coming out, and we're only talking about stretching, right? I mean, we've been talking about the opening of the energy body, right? Because that's a result of it. You feel better, and that has an effect on, of course, you got more juice, but starting every day with stretching can have this profound effect on you.
Exactly. Yeah,
which is crazy, right?
That was where it really started with.
Yeah.
And I started out with 5 minutes, and then 10 minutes, and then it's exactly a little bit longer, and then a little bit longer, because I had more to give. I had more energy to actually go that extra mile, or to do that extra thing, and to go shop for other ingredients, and to and to apply for more education, and
But the funny thing is, so you start a routine which you are amazing at, right? So you start this routine, and that has a profound effect on all other routines.
Yeah.
right? So you decide every morning to start your day with stretching, and that's not the only thing we're doing, right? But it's definitely part of our routines.
Yeah.
And you see that has an effect on every other part.
Yeah.
It's sort of like you break into your cycle and you say, okay, I stretch. Because now, let's say we would decide for the next month not to stretch every morning. How would that be? How would you feel?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I don't think I could.
That's funny. No, I don't. I want to stretch. This is maybe a little bit, But I mean, what I really mean to say is like, what happens when you don't stretch? What happens energetically?
Oh.
Because what is the tendency of our beings, right?
It's funny that you now you rephrase it and I can answer it better. Because we just had the New Year's.
Yeah.
And we went away with the family for a couple of nights. And I didn't stretch. Because it was kind of, busy and there was so much going on with a lot of people around us.
Yes, right. Same with you if you're traveling or whatever,
Sometimes, although I stretch in train stations, airports, wherever.
But this was a little bit harder.
This was a little bit harder, yeah. And I must say, we have a dog, so we go for long walks, and we did go for long walks, which helps. But what happens when that I'm not as good as normal to have my filter.
That's nice. Yeah. I understand what you mean.
So normally when I wake up, I do my stretches, I do my routine. Also have good food, because that was kind of a thing when you're away with family. That's another podcast. But
it's not gonna get a lot of listens or views, I think.
But what you see is that you're there. You walk up straight, and you feel good, and then you feel that you kind of go inside. You don't feel as open.
Exactly. So what happens? There's more contraction.
Yeah.
So remember, we as beings, we think, and we feel, and we do.
Yeah.
So if we're losing the stretch, if we're losing the physical aspect, that has immediately a profound effect on what happens inside. We have the tendency to contract as human beings, because we have this thing in us. Let's call this simply the ego, the astral ego, which is touching things, right? And we're touching it and we're thinking about it, and there's all these feelings and things happening with it. And that immediately goes to contraction. It doesn't go to expansion per se. It could be shortly if we explode, you could say, right? But that's just the liver saying, I need room again, right? Yeah. So talking about the liver and the relationship between the stretches every morning and your liver, right? Yeah. We have a saying here in Holland. Is there something on your liver? This is roughly translated, right? It's like, is there a weight on it? It's like this liver needs room, right? Yeah. If the liver doesn't have any room,
there's the frustration.
Right? Yeah. So the liver is very dependent on this aspect of the liver, right? Is very dependent on this opening of the joints and of the elasticity of the body. But on the other hand, with the expertise that you have in the food, and we did a podcast about this, but we I think the messaging is just repeating this messaging, is that we can also have, you will find that food has an effect on the liver.
Well, what you see is that wood elements, where the liver is part of, it's all about a good flow of energy through the body. So if you stretch,
it's there.
There's a good flow of energy through the body. The energy is where it's needed.
Exactly.
But now, when you don't stretch, or when there is a lot of stress, and I think in our society, there's so many things coming at you all the time.
Man.
So your system is in a
State of shock, flight, fight.
it's being how do you say it?
It's under fire.
Under fire the whole day. So what you want is an open system, so that you have some resistance for that.
It's like a protective shield, you could say.
You want that protective shield. That's exactly what it is. I think your chi.
It's like the Death Star, right? In Star Wars, right? This is a podcast about Star Wars. No, but what happens when you... Okay, so let's take this a little bit further. What happens when you're mentally in this feeling of this expansion?
What happens when you're...
Yeah, this is my... Okay. So we've opened the joints. Yeah. We're getting into this energy field. Yeah. This feeling. What happens mentally when you're in this field?
Oh, you can...
Is it still?
Yeah, but it's still.
But is it also spacious?
Yeah. It's where it's spacious, and there is more room for whatever wants to come.
Right. Without this reactivity, without this touching, without this sticking. Yeah. Right. So a different part of your mental body is opening up. Yeah. Moving further and further away from the physical, because the stress is mostly in the physical, right? Yeah. The things we see, the things we react to, the things we hear, the things and of course the things we feel, right? So, but that also draws you into, think about contraction, that draws you into the lower aspects of your mental body. But what happens when you stretch? So we first open these joints, then we opening in this feeling, we recognize this feeling as larger than our physical body, because that's how it feels. Your mental body will expand with it, and you will just feel better and be more aligned and, in touch with everything around
connected. And that's the funny thing. I was just thinking about that. When I start the day with stretching, and then I go out with the dog in the park. Nathan, yeah. And with all the trees, I love to walk in the park and connect with the trees. But sometimes I stretch afterwards. Right. And it's a whole different experience going outside. Right. Because then I'm still here, so close to my, thoughts.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But when I stretch, then I'm out there and I can be in that experience.
So this has a profound spiritual effect to stretch. Yeah. And look at the yoga traditions, look at, the Taoyin traditions, look at, all the stretches that you see in the Zen Buddhist traditions. And you see stretches everywhere in these traditions that are looking for spiritual growth. Yeah. So what happens when you open the joints, and especially if we look at the spine, right? If we can learn how to open the spine, now we're getting somewhere. Because, if you're looking at, we're looking at thinking, looking at it, we're talking about thinking, feeling, and acting, but these are connected to the three energy bodies, right? To the three dantian. Yeah. So what happens when we're starting to build this elevator shaft, you could say, with strengthening the spine, opening the joints, and strengthening the elasticity? What happens is we're creating this elevator shaft, you could say, where we can rise up. Right? Without that, it's going to be hard, because you will be all over the place. And if you see the physical stillness that is created by opening the joints and strengthening the elasticity of the body, has a profound effect on the stillness of the mental body. It goes hand in hand, right? Yeah. So, being really in your head, and really being in your thoughts and distracted and whatever, you can see that in people. You can recognize it. They're all over the place. They're leaning, they're crossing their arms, they're there's so much stickiness and, how would you say, stickiness, and there's so much...
weight on their shoulder.
Weight on their shoulders, but also this dynamic, there's this this vibration that's not, it's all over the place, right? Yeah. Opening the joints has this effect on stilling that.
Yeah. I was just going to say, you see that a lot in traffic.
Oh, totally. Yeah. No, but people go outside, It's like, there we go. Especially here in the West, we're in one of the most populated areas in the country, but also in the world, I guess. This part of Holland is dense, so we have this outside influence also, that when you cannot really help it. When you go outside, it's like, ooh, you're in this energy field. Yeah. And this energy field is not per se very woken up and very, conscious. It's an unconscious energy. Yeah. What happens with people who are not stretching and not, taking care of that part of themselves. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah. And just to make a connection with the 5 elements and food, because it has an effect also on of course it has an effect on your digestion. Because when you stretch, when there's when there's good flow of energy, your digestion will say, thank you.
Of course, yeah.
And it's easier to digest. But if your digestion is not really good, then your liver or your wood element is under pressure as well. So these two, we made a podcast about it, but these two really go hand in hand. And even if you eat the best ingredients and you think, what's happening? Why is my digestion not really good? Do you have a lot of stress in your life? Mm-hmm. Well, that's probably the answer. So what are you going to do to release the stress?
Absolutely.
That's on your system, and this is a good beginning to do that.
Absolutely. So this opening of the joints is just, we could talk about this for 3 podcasts, I guess, how profound that is, right?
Absolutely.
So this opening of the joints, together with that, with the stretching, I like to combine it also with jumping on my rebounder, my little trampoline. Yeah. Because that also has a profound effect on especially the spine, and you need a good one. That's important, right? You don't want one that's too tough or too heavy. Yeah. You want one that you want to get the best one you can buy. Really, that's the thing here, so that you can feel that this spine gets this workout all the time, and this has a huge effect on your energy. Yeah. It just, you come off the trampoline, you jump for like 10 minutes, and you could do longer if you want. And you get off the trampoline and you're like, wow. Yeah. I like that sort of training. I really like to use objects. I also like the partner training we're doing in Tai Chi, where there's, a heavy load on you and you have to be open under pressure of this heavy load. And I think that's what Tai Chi is all about, is building this especially opening the joints, this elastic body where it's strong, and where if you're doubling the load, having a person on you and they're putting your weight on you, and you have to learn how to be open. I like that sort of training, right? Yeah. And that training is actually necessary for a good Tai Chi, because without that you will probably be doing it wrong. Yeah. Because of course this also translates to all Tai Chi training, opening joints, opening the energy body, opening the mental body. It's alchemy, really, right? But today was more about, I think, the foundation of it. So stretches are immensely important, right? That's why we teach that to everyone, who comes through the door, and online as well. The course will also be about, these stretches and opening the joints. That's just, without that, it's just not going to work. No,
you want a strong system. Yep. You want a strong system to start with. So.
And you want a lifestyle that supports it. Yeah. It's that, without that, people, it's just not going to happen. No. No. You might think it's happening, but it's not, know. Yeah. No.
That's great.
Well.
Perfect.
Absolutely. I like this one.
Yeah.
I like talking about joints and opening them.
And maybe it's good to mention that we do an online course.
Yeah, starting in just a little bit over a week and a half, something like that. Yeah, the 17th of January. So feel free to join us if you want to know more about this and get this into your life. And we're going through all these openings. Yeah. And the lifestyle.
And lifestyle. The food 5 elements.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening. And, have a great day. And
see you in the next one.
See you later. Bye.
Bye.